guys, it's Tanya Beautiful here and welcome back to my channel. So before I get into this video, you guys, I just kind of want to give you guys some of the reason why I'm doing this video, and I don't want any sympathy or anything like that. I'm just doing this because I feel like I need to, and it's something that keeps telling me that I need to do it. Of course, as every typical human being, I have gone through a lot of things in my lifetime. I will definitely say a lot of these things happened during my childhood, and because of these things that have happened in my childhood, it kind of affected the way that I am today, the person that I am today. I wanted to do this video because I feel like I need to talk about these things. I need to let them off of my chest. I found myself becoming more angry, and it happens mostly when I think about these things. I'm not having an issue with anger or anything like that, but I do feel like it's stuff that I need to get off of my chest, and in order for me to become a better person, I feel like I need to talk about these things. I don't know, I don't want to title it story times. I don't know what I'm going to title this, but I don't want it to be something that people take as like a story time where I'm just, just talking shit. This is something serious, and I feel like maybe I could help somebody in order for me to get over some of the things that have been happening in my life. I have to talk about it. So today I am going to be talking about the time where I was basically sexually assaulted in my grandmother's building. So where do I even start? I don't even know. So as a child, I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house. That's not a bad thing. Now that I'm a mother, I definitely know how important it is to get a break for yourself so that you can feel like you have a life of your own, and when it's time to be a mommy, you can be a mommy, but you still want to feel like you have some type of freedom. So I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house. Sometimes I needed to be there so she could get important stuff done. So I didn't have an issue with that. I love my grandmother, and I loved spending time with her, so it didn't bother me. Being in my grandmother's house, she sent me to the store a lot. This particular day, she sends me to the supermarket, I believe. I remember I got dressed and I got the money from her and I left the house. My grandmother's building is about maybe 5 floors up, something like that. We're on the ground floor though. And the staircase has windows, and the front of her building, you can see into the staircase, you can see into the windows. And as I walked out of the door, I saw a guy on probably like the 2nd floor just smoking and standing by the window. I didn't really pay too much attention to it, but like I heard like kisses, like, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't necessarily think it was for me. After like the 3rd one, I kept walking, and then I looked back and I was just like, okay, it probably isn't me, because there were other people outside anyway. And my grandmother, she lived in a project, so there were a lot of buildings, a lot of people in the area, And I go to the store and I come back, and when I come back, this guy is in the doorway. And it was almost like he was waiting for me to come back, and once he saw me, he came downstairs, because my grandmother, to get into her building, there's like a little entryway, and you can see from the window when someone is coming in. So I guess when I was coming in, he had time to run down. And the staircases, trust me, they weren't long. They were very short, like literally the most 12, 13 steps. It's not even that long. And he's in the doorway, and I'm just like, what the hell, like, what is he doing here? So I wasn't really thinking anything of it. I didn't think that he was gonna do anything. My mind wasn't thinking that. I wasn't thinking negative. I wasn't thinking like he's gonna do something. And I'm filming this, it's kind of dark outside, I apologize. So he opens the first door for me, and now I'm in the doorway, and the first thing he says is,
"Oh, You're very pretty.
I remember everything that he said and me not answering anything. I was just nodding my head, like, kind of like awkward, like, what kind of, I wasn't really engaging much into the conversation that he was trying to have with me. I was really just trying to ignore him. So he says, "You're really pretty," and I just remember nodding and just, trying to go through. But he was kind of blocking me in a way. So I'm just standing there lost, like I don't know what to do. I was nervous, I was a kid, and there wasn't much that I could do to this probably at the time 6 foot tall. He was slim, but he had a little body on him, and I'm just like, what can I do to this guy? You know what I mean? So I'm standing there, and then he says, "How old are you?" And I remember telling him my age. I told him my age. That was the only thing that I responded to. When he said, "How old are you?" Everything else, no response. I didn't open my mouth. Everything was kind of like a head nod, a head shake. I didn't speak. I was frozen. And the only thing that I answered in a nervous way was my age. And then he says to me, "I look good," and how he likes my body. And he said something like, "Do you know what I could do with you, or what I want to do with you?" And I just kept nodding my head and shaking my head and shaking my head and trying to get past him, but he was just too tall and too big for me. So eventually he comes like really close up on me, and he tries to kiss me. And at this point, when he lowers himself to try to kiss me and I move my head, I'm able to kind of slide up under his arm because he's coming down now to try to kiss me. And then I slide under his arm, and I'm pressing my grandmother's bell, but of course my grandmother is going to take a while to answer the door because she walked really, really slow at the time. And I kept pressing the bell, pressing the bell, pressing the bell, and at this point now his hand is groping my ass, and he's like,
"Oh, it's so soft and it feels so good."
I keep buzzing it, and he tries to reach his hand down in my pants, and that's where I believe he was gonna try to do what he was gonna do. Because let me just explain first that the two doors, it was a doorway that had two doors, so one on each end, one little small window at the top. There was no way that anybody could see what he's doing to me in that doorway because of the way the doors were, and because of the how small the little windows were and how high up they were. And I'm buzzing the bell, and he's groping me, and he's trying to take his hand into my clothes. At this point, he's holding his penis in his hand, and I'm just buzzing. It was almost like God made it happen to where, my grandmother opens the door, because every time she sends me to the store, she'll buzz me in, but sometimes before that, she'll come to the door and say, "Tanya," at the door to make sure it's me. And this time, that's what she did. Instead of buzzing it, I'm there. So the door opens, and I hear my name, and I'm like, "Yes." And when I say yes, he takes off running out the front door, and I'm still waiting on her to buzz the second door. And we probably weren't even in the doorway for 5 minutes good, to be honest. Everything happened so fast, but it couldn't have ended quick enough, if you know what I mean. Like, that was the most uncomfortable situation that I was ever in as a child, and that shit messed me up so bad to where, like, literally I was terrified of men for a very long time. And then now, after this happens, I go inside my grandmother's house. I'm scared, and literally I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep that night. I was nervous. I felt like for some reason he was gonna know which apartment I went into, and he was gonna come, break in and try to rape me or something. So I was up that whole night, and probably like a week later, I go back to my mom. I don't say anything to my mom. I don't say anything to my grandmother. Nobody knows. And I go back to my mom. I come back for the weekend. And my grandmother takes me upstairs to a friend of hers. And when we go upstairs, we both are going up the stairs to go talk to her friend. And when we are going up the stairs, here goes this guy with another 3 or 4 guys. And I'm standing there, and my grandmother's talking to her friend. And as my grandmother's talking to her friend, he's winking at me, and he's like sticking out his tongue at me. And that had me terrified to go back to my grandmother's house. For real, for real. Like, I was just like, this guy is crazy. Like, it's scary. And I didn't want to say anything because I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to tell anybody. And if it's one thing that I could advise to young girls is, if something like this happens, do not be afraid to talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, it's going to really mess you up in the future. This is something that I've carried with me from the time I was a child to today, and did not tell anybody, and I'm glad I'm talking about it now. I don't want sympathy or anything like that. I just want to talk about it, to let it off of my chest. And I'm having a lot of anxiety because of those things that have happened. There are going to be more stories like this, but this one in particular messed me up for a very, very long time. And I have anxiety about life now because I got a daughter, and I don't know what the future holds, but I would hope and pray that nothing like this ever happens to her, and that, God forbid, if anything, does occur, anything that she feels is inappropriate, that's not appropriate, I'm gonna definitely teach her what's appropriate and what's not. And I'm definitely going to teach her not to talk to strangers. Let me know if anybody does anything to you. But I would hope that she wasn't afraid like how I was to tell, because I honestly wish I could go back and tell on him and get him in trouble. If something like this happens to anybody, definitely talk about it. Don't be afraid to express it to an adult, whoever is around that is an adult. Scream, shout, scream, kick. Don't be silent like I was, because I carried this from a child to now. I feel a little bit more relieved that I actually talked about it. I feel like I'll feel even more relieved once I actually release the video. I don't know when that's gonna be. I'm nervous to release it, but I mean, it is what it is. But that's just one thing off my chest that I could say I don't have to deal with. It's not good to be quiet about it. It's always good to talk about it so that, just it can help release some of that stress and some of that anxiety. And because I keep so many things in, I developed anxiety, and it's not good to keep things in. So speak up, and if you haven't talked yet, talk about it, and it'll help you out. And that's it for this video. I know it was kind of all over the place. It was probably awkward, but that's it for this video, and I will see you guys in my next one.